getting into the conversation. We're talking about your right to information. I've got in the studio this morning Mr. Stephen Owusu, Esquire, General Manager, Legal Governance, Regulatory and Research at the Right to Information Commission. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
How are we doing this morning?
Yeah, I'm good. And you?
I'm doing all right. Nothing $1 million wouldn't solve, but you know, that's neither here nor there. The weekend is there. Typically, everybody's in a bit of a better mood when Friday rolls around. But again, thank you so much for joining us on the program. We'll get stuck straight into it. Okay. For the uninitiated, can you give us an overview, a brief overview of the Right to Information Act and the core mandate of your commission?
Thank you very much, and very good morning to your listeners. So the Right to Information Act is that law passed by Parliament in 2019 to facilitate access to information. You know, the right of access to information is a constitutional right, so that right has always been there. When you go under the Constitution, under Article 21, Clause 1F, it provides that every person has the right to information. But we needed a law that would spell out the framework, the modalities for accessing that right. And that is why Parliament passed the Right to Information Act in 2019. So when you look at the long title of the act, we lawyers call it the long title. It gives a description of the act. So when you pick any law, the long title begins it. It gives a gist of what the law seeks to achieve. The long title says that this is an act that provides for the implementation of that constitutional right of access to information. And is subject to some exemptions provided under the act.
Right.
And the aim is to foster a culture of transparency and accountability. So that is what the Right to Information Act is about. Now, the Act establishes the Right to Information Commission under Section 40 and gives it the mandate to protect, to monitor, to enforce the right to information which is provided under the Constitution. So the mandate of the Constitution is to promote, to protect, to monitor, and to enforce the right of access to information. That's what the Commission does.
Now, how impactful then would you say the RTI Commission has been since its inception as far as transparency and accountability is concerned?
I would say that the Commission has been up and doing since it came into existence in 2020. You know, the Commission came into existence on 19th October 2020. That is when the President of the Republic swore in the 7-member board of the Commission. So full activity started from 2021. We started looking for office spaces, trying to set up the administrative structures and all that. And so far, we've not done badly. Okay, it's like asking me to assess myself.
Right.
But I believe you've been following some activities of the Commission in the news over these past years, and we've not done badly. We've rolled out nationwide sensitization programs. And as I speak, we've completed tours in all the 16 regional capitals. And everywhere we go, we invite as many people as possible, a cross-section of the public. Okay.
Why is it important for you to reach all Ghanaians to get this message across?
Well, this is a new law. It's an important piece of legislation. We are talking about rights to information. Information is everything.
That's right.
Okay. And if you would want to achieve the culture of transparency and accountability we've always been yearning for, it is important for people to be brought up to speed with what their rights are under the law, what the law is about, how they can use the law to access information and to put public officers on their toes, to be accountable. So we need to promote right to information. How do we promote? The law provides under Section 45 that we need to engage in sensitization. So that is why we've rolled out the sensitization. Part of it is what I've already mentioned. Touring all the 16 regional capitals, meeting the cross-section of the public, from media houses to schools to all public institutions. Okay, at Grand Fora, everywhere we go, and we take time to explain the law. We do PowerPoint presentation, allow people to ask all the questions. And beyond that, we've also rolled out institutional sensitization, where we avail ourselves to go into public institutions to monitor management and staff. And it's an ongoing exercise. And as I speak, we've visited no less than 300 institutions.
You've been very busy indeed.
Yes, every week we visit a number of institutions, every week. Okay? And last year, for instance, and we are repeating this year, we'll be moving to mosques and churches to sensitize. So as I speak, the church and mosque sensitization is ongoing. And speaking about how effective the commission has been, within this span of about 3 to 4 years of our existence, we've been able to establish presence in Kumasi to cater for the Ashanti region and the catchment areas. We are in Sunyani. Just this week, we've registered presence in Bolga. Okay? And it is our aim that by the end of this year, we should be able to add about 3 or 4 regions where we will start operations. And we are up and doing. Up and doing,
certainly. I was in Namibia last year, and the journalists there were actually quite keen on what the RTI Commission in Ghana was up to. I wasn't too well equipped at that time, so hopefully they're tuning in this morning. Now I am. When I go back, I can go and tell them a lot more. Now, how does the Commission ensure the implementation of Act 989?
Okay, so part of the implementation is getting people sensitized. Okay, because as I said, Section 40 says we should promote right of access. How do you promote? By getting people to understand the law. So the sensitization is part. And another part of the implementation is receiving complaints from dissatisfied applicants for information, and taking steps to resolve those complaints. So I believe you may have heard that in the news from time to time that the Right to Information Commission has slapped an administrative penalty on this institution or that institution. It's all part of the implementation steps the Commission has been taking. When we receive the complaints, we take time to investigate the complaints, afford the public institution against which the complaint has been laid the opportunity to be heard. And if at the end of the day we feel that you've not lived up to your obligation under the Act, we apply some administrative penalty against you. So it's all part of the implementation. And another part of the implementation of that is opening up the spaces in the regions, the regional offices, so that we can get closer to the people. And yet a key part of the implementation of the Act has been monitoring, inspection and monitoring. But we have a whole department in charge of enforcement, investigations and compliance. So they go out to sensitize. And they also go out to monitor compliance with obligations under the law.
Do you get a lot of complaints then coming through? Has it increased over time?
Okay, so relatively, let's say 2021, we had about 24 complaints. And for 2022, it jumped to around 84, thereabout, 84, 86, thereabout. So that was a quantum leap. 2023, if you look at the figures, the complaints we received at our end reduced a bit. It came to around 66, 67. Okay, but that also means that then institutions and persons, public officers were getting to understand the law. Or if we do an analysis of the posture, the disposition of public institutions and public officers to the law as of 2021 and now, you can see that there is vast improvement.
Is that because you've been cracking the whip a lot more? You talk about the fines and all of that. Would you say that that's what's making the difference?
It's part. The sensitization for me is the major part, because people are now getting to understand the law. Okay, public institutions are getting to appreciate their obligations under the law. We do the monitoring, okay, and in the monitoring exercise, when we get the results, and there's the need for us to engage further, okay, to get the public institutions to understand what they have to do and how they have to go about doing those things. Okay, we do that. So I would say that it's not only cracking the whip, which has done the magic, but also the sensitization, the monitoring. That has also helped.
What would you say is the Commission's biggest challenge as far as enforcing the law is concerned, enforcing Act 989 is concerned? Because the people of Ghana have some thoughts, and we'll come to that. But what has been the biggest headache?
The biggest headache for me, and so far as the Commission is concerned, has been the posture of some public institutions. Okay, initially there were some institutions. I mean, for me, I believe it was due to lack of understandings. There were some institutions that thought that they are untouchables. Okay.
You say that is from a lack of understanding, or
yes, lack of understanding of the law from the beginning.
Okay.
Okay, but now, due to the constant engagement with some of those institutions, the sensitization and all that, we've been able to get them to understand that there's no institution that is exempt under the law. It is rather classes of information that are exempt. Okay.
And that's an important distinction.
Yes, there's no institution. Okay, so we've received complaints against even the presidency. There are several complaints people have logged against the presidency. Okay, we've received complaints against the NIB. Okay, against Ministry of National Security and all that, which initially thought that because of the nature of his work, perhaps it was exempt. But we've engaged them a number of times, and there's now that understanding. But the challenge is that in spite of this, you look at the nature of complaints we receive from applicants, and there's a sense that some institutions and some public officials still have not come to grips with what the law actually is. Okay, they seem to still live in the past, such that when people go to ask for information, you look at the nature of the requests, and you would think that this shouldn't pose any problem. Okay, but they will still deny, and so the applicants end up coming to the Commission. Okay, and one would expect that looking at the magnitude of the sensitization exercise we've embarked upon, certain complaints shouldn't be coming to the Commission at this time. Okay, but they are still coming. But it's an ongoing exercise. If you look at the span of time the Commission has been in existence, we are still fairly new. And so we believe that going forward, we'll get a lot more public institutions and public officers to appreciate the law. And then the challenge, of course, we are a public institution, so funding. Okay.
I was going to ask, because
Yes,
you've set
funding.
up, you set up across
Yes.
the country. So I was saying, well, the RTI Commission, you're living good.
We're not.
You have some money in the coffers. You are the envy of many. You've set up here, you've set up there. You guys are rolling in the dough.
No, we're not. But, we are determined to work. Act 989, which is the Right to Information Act, says that the Commission is independent. And we are always very mindful of that. Well, you look at the nature of our job. Okay, if we don't remain firm on our independence, okay, it is easy to be compromised. Okay, because nobody likes to give out information. Okay? Especially, you see, the chairman of the board of the Right to Information Commission has made a profound statement. He says, see, the corruption is in the information.
That's right.
The transparency is in the information. Make a choice. So information is everything. Okay, if we've been complaining about corruption and all that, everything is information. So giving that information is not something people or some institutions or some public officers would readily do.
Because of what could possibly be unearthed by the provision of that information.
That is it, okay? So we are very mindful of that, but that is why the law says we are independent, and we are very firm on that. And so we are determined to work.
Do you think that has come across to the people of Ghana? Because sometimes I monitor, I test the pulse, and there are many who think that the RTI Act is toothless. I've seen it described as toothless, because institutions simply refuse to comply, or they'll cite security or confidentiality without facing any real consequences. That's the perception out there. Is the RTI Commission truly empowered to hold institutions accountable?
I believe the statistics will bear us out. Okay, and we've slapped administrative penalties on institutions such as the Ministry of National Security, the Ghana Police Service. We've slapped administrative penalties on them about 3 or 4 times.
Are they paying?
Yes, they've paid.
They've paid.
Okay, and I think in 2 of those instances, they willingly came forward. Okay.
And who do those monies go to? How is that captured?
So under Section 60 of the law, there are 3 sources of funds for the commission. Okay, so the budgetary allocation is there, obviously from government.
Right.
And then we have the administrative penalties. The monies we recover through the administrative penalties. And then we have donations.
Okay,
so the administrative penalties come to the commission. But let me be quick to add that so far, the administrative penalties we've been able to recover, and we've recovered through institutions willingly paying, or in several instances, we're going to court to get court orders to recover those administrative penalties. So far, we've covered some amount of money, but we haven't touched that money yet. Because we need to go through some administrative processes to get clearance from the Ministry of Finance to determine what part of that money we can keep for ourselves. So the administrative penalties will come to the commission and the government.
Now, are you able to give some examples of cases that the commission has successfully resolved?
There are a number of them. There are a number of them. Perhaps let me think about those that made some news so that you can easily remember.
Right.
Okay. The case by Occupy Ghana. Okay, Occupy Ghana regarding government lands and how those lands have been given out, what has come out of those lands. I think that was a landmark case against the Lands Commission.
Right.
They engaged the Lands Commission on several fronts. They didn't get the desired result, so they came to the commission. The commission successfully resolved that, and we ordered that the information be given out. Remember the Frontiers case there?
That's right.
Yes, the Ghana airport.
That's right.
Case. Okay, we successfully resolved that complaint, and we ordered that the information be given. So there are so many. You can get hold of our annual report. So the annual report for 2023 is out, and you get all the figures in there.
Okay. Now, I want to talk about collaboration. CSOs in our country are a very powerful force. Has there been any collaboration with civil society organizations, well, at least with the media? We see that you're here this morning to increase pressure on public institutions to comply with the Act. Have you had to do that? Is that something that's in the pipeline?
No, we've been doing that.
Okay.
We've been doing that. And you see, if you understand the history of the Right to Information Act, you will know that the media played a pivotal role.
That's right.
Okay, this is a piece of legislation that took 20 years in coming. Okay, so it had a checkered history. And since its passage, we've engaged several CSOs and media houses, okay, in trying to implement the act. I can make mention of Media Foundation for West Africa. In fact, right after the passage of the law, they took conscious efforts to test the law to make sure that implementation will start. Okay, they threw across several public institutions applications, trying to see how public institutions would react to those applications. So they've really helped. If you look at the initial cases the commission started dealing with, majority of them were from journalists from the Media Foundation,
Right.
from West Africa, particularly the Fourth Estate. Okay, we have an institution like Center for Democratic Empowerment, which is a think tank. Okay, they have also, they are embarking on an exercise to test the procurement laws of Ghana. Okay, so they also have thrown a lot of applications to public institutions trying to find out what they have been doing regarding procurement. Okay, and then when it comes to a body like the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, they have always been in the picture right from when there was agitation for the passage of the law. In fact, they brought together the CSOs and the media houses into a coalition, the Right to Information Coalition. So the Secretariat of the Right to Information Coalition is at the office of the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative. And we've been working hand in hand. You can mention Star Ghana Foundation.
Right.
Okay, we've collaborated with them on a number of programs, particularly when we're doing the regional sensitization. Okay, for Tamale, Star Ghana Foundation last 2 years, in 2022, decided to partner RTIC to engage the residents of Tamale, okay, and the catchment areas. We've collaborated with a lot of institutions. Just a little over a month ago, we were in Kumasi for a training workshop for right to information officers and selected civil society organizations. And that was a partnership between a body called the International Republican Institute and the Right to Information
So
Commission.
you'd say it's a healthy marriage between the RTI Commission and these different organizations.
It is.
How do you measure the impact of your efforts, the RTI Commission's efforts on transparency and accountability in the Republic? And also, what are your goals for the coming years? I'm not sure how easily quantifiable that is, but from where you sit and you assess the work that's been done in the 3-4 years, what do you think the impact has been, really?
I think that we've had a positive impact. We've had a positive impact. There's an obligation under Section 77 of the law for public institutions to submit annual reports. I'm using that as an example.
Right.
Okay? And if you look at the number of institutions that have been complying with that obligation, okay, it has been incremental. The number has been increasing, okay, over the years. And that should tell you that the impact is very good, okay? If you look at the number of institutions that submitted their annual report on right to information activities in those institutions. So they give us the statistics. The law itself spells out what those institutions should state in the annual report. How many applications did you receive? How many did you grant? How many did you deny? What were the reasons for the denial? Are you aware of any application that traveled beyond your institution to the court? Okay, and they've been reporting, and the numbers that have been reporting have been increasing. So that is an indication of the positive impact when it comes to...
Well, what about with the people themselves? Because you've been crisscrossing the country. So, I mean, on the institutional side, it sounds as though at least with record keeping and giving you the requisite information, they've been all right on that front. But with the actual people, as you've been, in society, as it were, what has been the response? I mean, the RTI acts, the law, it's really for the people. It's for the citizens.
That is it. That is it. And we've also monitored a positive impact when it comes to the people and how they have used the law and how all that feeds into ensuring transparency and accountability. Let me give you an example. So, 2 years ago, we received a complaint from one of the students who wrote the Ghana School of Law entrance, and you remember that incident?
Yes.
Okay. And he requested for his marked scripts because he felt he passed. He wasn't comfortable with the marks. So he applied to be given, okay, his marked scripts. And then the marking scheme, and he was denied. Okay, so he came to the commission. Okay, we took steps to investigate. We engaged the relevant institution, the Independent Examination Committee of the General Legal Council. And at the end of the day, we came up with our decisions. And I will tell you that based on the recommendations we made in the decisions and the orders we made, okay, as we speak, students are now able to access their mark scripts. Okay, well, the concern, we appreciated the concern raised by the IEC that granting the application would open the floodgates.
And it has.
Okay, it does. But you see, they viewed the floodgates argument in a negative light. Okay, but we said, yes, you have a point there, but make sure you put in place a system, okay, where each individual, okay, will be able to access their manuscript with a click of a button.
Okay.
Okay, so that people wouldn't have to queue. Okay, queue with applications to be given access to their manuscripts. And the information we've had is that it's working.
It's had a positive impact. It's an election year. Very, 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 very energetic year, shall I say, for us Ghanaians. And not even just Ghanaians. Many other countries this year are headed to the polls. What should we be expecting from the commission? Is there anything peculiar that an election year brings to the fore?
So, for an election year, what we are peculiar about is misinformation and disinformation. Okay, when it comes to access to information, we are there. Understand the law, know how to use the law to ask for information. Go to the public institutions, ask. If you don't get the desired results, come to the commission. We are there, okay? But then, looking at the times we are in, our concern is the type of information that may be put out there. Okay, you go on social. Now we are controlled by social media.
That's right.
Okay, so how do we get to control the type of information that is pushed out there through social media? Because looking at the times we are in, misinformation and disinformation will be the last thing anybody would like to experience. So the commission has been part of a number of programs. Media Foundation for West Africa, for instance, a couple of weeks ago held a seminar on this same topic, and the commission was there. Since we superintend over access to information, okay, we also were there to share our thoughts on how to ensure that we will bring to the barest minimum misinformation and disinformation. And then when we talk about access to information, we also look at how to use the social media to grant access to information. But even in doing that, okay, how do we monitor to ensure that the right information is put out there? So the commission is partnering with relevant institutions to make sure that we make people conscious of the dangers of misinformation and disinformation.
Now, the average Joe that wants to come to the RTI Commission and request some information, how does one go about it? What is the procedure? Okay,
so I will start by correcting the last statement.
Sure.
Okay. The Right to Information Commission is also a public institution.
Right.
So if you need information about the commission, okay, treat it as every other public institution. You can come. We also have a unit that receives applications from people who want information about our activities. Okay, but that aside,
so people actually also want information about the RTI Commission itself.
Well, we are also a public institution.
You're very busy indeed.
Yes, okay. So, but that aside, okay, if people need information in general, they don't come to the Right to Information Commission.
That's the misconception.
That's a misconception.
Okay.
You should rather know which public institution holds that information. And that is where you direct your application.
So I can imagine that for a lot of people, their first step is the RTI Commission. They haven't actually requested the information from the requisite body they are after.
Yes, and it was very bad some years, okay, a couple of years back when we started. But you see, it is now reducing because people are getting to appreciate the law because of the sensitization. So let it be known that if you want information, the information is with a public institution.
Right.
So if it is your district assembly, if it is your municipal or metropolitan assembly, if it is any of the ministry, the departments, the agencies, you rather go there first.
Right.
And request for the information. Section 18 says that your application must be in writing. Okay, so just put it into writing. Okay, it could be in an email form, okay, or you can send a hard copy. But in your application, Section 18 says make sure you describe the information you want, so that the institution can find it for you. So state the information you want. Indicate the manner of access. How do you want to be given the information? Is it in a photocopy form?
Right.
Or is it in a PDF form? Okay, so indicate the manner of access. Assuming you are applying on behalf of another person. Okay, so let's say I'm applying on behalf of my son, and the application is directed to my son's school.
Right.
Okay, then I'll have the added responsibility to indicate the capacity in which I make the application on behalf of my son. So perhaps I will add that I make the application in my capacity as the father of Master so and so. Okay, and then I will add an identity.
Sure.
So it could be either my Ghana card or my passport. Okay, and then I will sign. Okay, I will sign. So that is the procedure. But that also doesn't mean that if I cannot read and write, I can't ask for information. The law says under Section 18(2) that where the applicant cannot make a written application, either by reason of disability or illiteracy, the applicant can walk to the public institution. Now, every public institution is mandated to have an officer called the information officer.
Right.
So when you come to the Right to Information Commission, we also have our information officer. Our information officers receive applications from those asking for information about the commission's activities.
Okay.
So you walk to the public institution, ask to find the information officer. Now tell the information officer orally, okay, the information you are asking for. Now this information officer is required under the law to listen to your oral application and reduce it into writing.
Okay.
And after having done that, read it over to you and explain to you in a language you understand. And you should have appeared to understood before you be made to either sign or tamprint or make a mark.
Okay.
But you must go with a witness. There must be a witness who also endorse on the face of the oral application, as has been taken down in writing, that indeed I was there when the applicant made oral application, which was taken down in writing, and afterwards the information officer read and explained to the applicant in a language the applicant understands before the applicant made a mark or signed. So that is the procedure. Now, when you've made your application to the public institution, the law says under Section 23 that this information officer who is receiving the request on behalf of the public institution, the information officer has 14 days within which to take a decision.
Is this 14 working days or just 14 days? Sure.
14 days. Okay, within which to take a decision. And the decision could be one of three things. Either after reviewing your request, I think you're entitled to the information.
Right.
Or either after reviewing your request, I think you're entitled to only part of the information. Or either after reviewing your request, I think you are not entitled to the information. But the law says that if the decision is to provide you with only part of the information or to deny you access, the information officer must give a reason.
Okay.
And then serve a notice of this decision on you. And so when you receive, and then the notice will also indicate how much you have to pay by way of fees. Okay, if the decision is to give you access to the information, how much you have to pay. Okay, so this is it. Now, when you receive this decision notice from the information officer and you are not satisfied, the law says that you trigger an internal review with the head of the institution. So you see, initially...
So actually, even the journey to the RTI Commission, it takes some time. You have to go through all of these processes. So to summarize, and just because we only have about 2 minutes to go, you go through these channels as explained by Mr. Owusu, and if the answer you're getting from the institution is B or C, so part of the information or no information, you trigger it again with that institution?
Yeah, with the head of the institution.
With the head of the institution.
For an internal review.
And then when does the RTI Commission finally come in?
So the head of the institution will have 15 days.
Okay.
If he or she decides not to respond at all, it will be deemed that he or she has affirmed the decision of the information officer. Or even if the information officer did not respond at all, it will be deemed a denial, a refusal of your application. Okay, so you can still trigger the internal review.
Right.
If you are not satisfied with the decisions you received from the public institution, that is when you come to the Right to Information Commission. And when we also give a decision and you are still not satisfied, you have access to the High Court under Section 36 for judicial review.
We can certainly shelve this for a part 2 because the journey to getting information, as you can hear this morning, is quite the journey. I'll give you 30 seconds, Stephen, final words, and we wrap up on this conversation.
Okay, my final words are that the Right to Information Act has come to stay, and it is a very important piece of legislation. Well, we all need information to get the accountability and the transparency we've been clamoring for over the years. And then this piece of information, 28th of September every year since 2019 has been set aside by the UN as International Day for Universal Access to Information. Now, this year, Ghana has been granted the right to host IDUA 2024. We call IDUA International Day for Universal Access to Information.
Right.
Okay, and it is taking place between 1st and 2nd October in Ghana. And it will be at Alisa, and it's under the theme mainstreaming access to information and participation across the public sector. So a lot more will be heard in the media in the coming days.
Absolutely, and we'll certainly have our eyes and ears firmly on that. Stephen Owusu Esquire, General Manager, Legal Governance, Regulatory and Research at the Right to Information Commission. We've certainly learned a lot this morning. Thank you so much for joining us on 3FM Sunrise.
You're welcome, and thank you very much.